So I wanted to try something, having had such a good experience with the Lumix LX5 over a period of 11 years, remarkably. I don't think I've ever kept any other camera that long. I wanted to try something that was similar, just as a bit of a nostalgia trip, really. And looking at stuff online, I thought something that's easily affordable for me, and just to give it a try out. And a CCD sensor as well, which is obviously different to what most of my cameras are now. So I thought, let's give something like the Lumix LX2 a try. Well, I have to say, I was a little bit surprised when this actually arrived. I know people say it's a small camera, but it's absolutely tiny. It really is tiny. I thought the Ricoh GR was small, and this is even smaller, I think. In fact, it's so small, it's actually quite tricky to hold it. I mean, I've got small hands, and if I find it tricky, then it must be really, really tiny. I'm not really used to cameras quite this small. I don't think, I probably, I may have owned one this small before, but to be honest, it is really, really tiny. So that was a little bit of a surprise. Another surprise, which I'm sure, I kind of noticed on the reviews thing, but it's got a joystick thing on the back. It's got a little joystick on the back there. And that's actually I quite like that. I think that's, for a camera this age, I think that's pretty good. And obviously, one of the reasons I wasn't expecting it was it's not on the LX5. And I would have thought if it was a good thing, they'd have probably continued it, but I quite like it. It does do, it does stuff. It does stuff. So you can move things about with it, go through options with it, use it as a button to press in. It does loads of stuff, and I think that's pretty good. The only downside will be if it ever stops working, there are some things that might be quite tricky to access via the menus, but cross that bridge if we ever come to it. So the joystick is a surprise as well, and that works well. Something that's a surprise that doesn't work well is the speed with which this thing writes to the card. Ooh, it's slow. They must have taken a lesson from Sigma on that one, because it takes like about 3 seconds to write an image to the card. And while it's doing that, you can't really do anything else. So that's a bit slow. Also, something that's, I guess, not quite such a good, not such a good thing is that screen on the back looks to be a reasonable size, but it's kind of very dated. It's pretty poor in terms of resolution, I guess. But the worst thing about it for me is that the font size they've used for the things like the aperture, it's very, very small. Very small. I can almost not see it. It's so small, not see it. Because for reading, close-up work, I wear glasses for reading, and that's fine. I can see it fine now, no problem. But I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. It's tiny writing. Tiny little bit of writing on it. So some of the time I'm kind of almost guessing what I'm doing in terms of aperture. So that's a bit of a thing. That really is tiny, and I don't really want to be taking and putting on glasses everywhere I go just to read the aperture on the camera. There's also, with this camera, although to give it its due, it produces a very nice image, I have to say. Quite surprised at just how good the images are from this camera, and we'll obviously drop a few into this vid as we go along. The images are very nice, but there's no option for attaching, as far as I can find, there's no option for attaching any kind of filters or accessories or anything like that. And on the LX5 you did have this kind of tube arrangement that you could attach things to, but I've not found a way of attaching anything should I want to on this. It does have, in terms of pictures, it does have RAW shooting, and it does also have, if you want JPEGs, it has quite a lot of customization, your contrast and sharpness and saturation and all of these things, and it's got custom white balances as well that you can hold. So there's quite a lot of customization in terms of pictures, and I'll be experimenting a little bit with that. As standard, but leaving everything standard, the pictures are actually very vibrant. The colours are very vibrant out of this camera, maybe a bit too vibrant for me, I think. So we'll be toning that down a little, maybe. But for what it cost, and I paid just over £80 for this, for what it cost and what you can get from it, I think it's a real bargain. I did try the video on this, movie stuff, and I have to say I think it's pretty appalling. I don't think I'll be using the video very much. It looks very jerky. It's not very I'll maybe put the specs up on the screen here, but they're very low quality, so I probably won't be doing too much in terms of video. But the big deal with this camera is that it can take pretty good pictures. It's got a decent kind of zoom range, and it is so tiny that I'm now using it as my kind of everyday pocketable thing, because it really is that small, and it's flexible, and it has good battery life, and for the money, these are a bargain, I think. Let's see how that goes. One thing that I forgot to mention was the aspect ratio with this LX2. There's a little aspect ratio switch on the top of the lens, and interestingly, and a lot was made of this at the time this camera was launched in 2006, I think it was. So it's an old camera, but a lot was made of the fact that it had a 16:9 aspect ratio, and that is what I've left the camera set on when I've been using it. And I quite like that extra kind of width